along with Stuart Nodell, another edition of Track Announcer's Notebook. We get together every Monday night at 8 p.m. until 9 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for everyone who has already joined us here on a Monday night. It'll be an in-depth conversation with Canadian Motorcycle Hall of Famer Toni Sharpless, who, like a nice bottle of wine, just gets better with age. We'll chat with Toni about her racing career, what she's been up to lately, and delve into her latest project, which is the Toni Sharpless Supersonic Road Race School. And I absolutely love their slogan, "Come drag a knee with us." We'll get into all of that information in just a few minutes. But before that, my co-host Stuart Nodell puts together our Nodell's notes from this past weekend's racing to have a chat about what happened the last couple of days in terms of racing around the world. Stuart, you've been tracking MotoGP and World Superbike, another busy weekend in both of those World Series.
Yeah, that's right, Pat. We had a pretty busy weekend at Misano where Maverick Vinales won on the Yamaha and also qualified on pole after a week of looking dominant and not closing out the deal. So he sort of redeemed himself this past weekend. And the series is really closed up in the championship. There's only 1 point from Dovizioso to both Maverick Vinales and Fabio Quartararo are tied in second place. So the championship's really tight there. And Joan Mir is only 1 point behind them on the Suzuki, who also finished second this weekend as well. So it was a great weekend for all those guys. And then in World Superbike, Chaz Davies won his first race in one of the legs, and Johnny Ray won in the other race. But American Garrett Gerloff got his first podium on the private Suzuki effort, or Yamaha, sorry.
Well, that's interesting. Chaz Davies, longtime road race fans will remember that British rider. He won the 2008 Daytona 200 on an attack performance Kawasaki. That was the year that Josh Hayes was disqualified due to some post-race technical issues. Chaz Davies ended up getting the win in the 2008 Daytona 200. He went on to win the 2011 World Supersport Championship and doing a great job this year in World Superbike on the Ducati. And I think, Stuart, we're probably seeing, at least in MotoGP, as close a championship race as we've had in a long, long time. Those top four riders separated by just a few points. So in all likelihood, it's going to go down to the final round before the MotoGP 2020 championship gets decided. I think Ray on the Kawasaki has been pretty strong, and it's really his championship right now, I think, to lose. But some other riders stepping up and putting in some very inspired rides this past weekend.
Yeah, I agree, Pat. It was good, close racing all around. Then we head over to Moto America this past weekend at Barber, and it was the all Cameron show again. Both in Superbike, Cameron Beaubier took the double in pretty dominant fashion, and Cameron Peterson as well in the stock 1000. But also to note, Cameron Peterson finished fourth in one of the Superbike legs this weekend on the stock 1000 machine. So he's getting really competitive with the guys on the factory bikes with full-blown Superbikes.
Well, he's certainly shown this year in stock 1000 that he's got the talent. Would not be surprised to see him move up to a full Superbike ride in Moto America next year. They, of course, have races still to come at Indianapolis on the road course there, and then wrap it up at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. I believe that's coming up in later on in October. So Moto America, but Beaubier's pretty much has the championship wrapped up. And now we move on we move on to the local racing scene, Shannonville Motorsport Park, and their final round of the Super Series.
Yeah, Pat, it looks like Eli DeCash was the winner again, the big winner in Pro Superbike, and he's again won the #1 plate in Pro Formula. I got a nice email from Don Empey earlier today, and he shared a little bit of how their weekend went. It sounds like they closed out the season pretty strong. We know they had a few issues and challenges at some of their earlier races, but some of the notables were Jordan Royds won the amateur Superbike and set a new lap record at a 106.9, which had stood for about 11 years. And aside from that, there was one of the amateur riders, I'm just reaching for his name here because I forget it off the top of my head, but Brad McRae, who's a newer amateur rider, won outright in the pro and amateur combined sport bike class. So that was a nice story. And apparently he has also overcome terminal cancer about 2 years ago. So it's a nice story for him as well.
Well, we wish Shannonville all the best as they look ahead to 2021 when hopefully the Super Series goes back to its traditional 5 or 6 rounds as opposed to the 3 that they were able to get in. And then down at the western end of the province, SOAR has their event, their final round coming up on the October 3rd and 4th weekend. A lot of championships to be decided there, including that hotly contested pro sport bike class where I think mathematically we've got 3, maybe 4 riders still in the hunt for the title. So we'll be watching that one closely. Stuart?
Yeah, that I'm looking forward to that. I think actually like you, I think I'm going to try and head out and at least catch one of the days on that weekend.
Okay. Is that it for Nodell's notes?
That's it. Well, just you had a bit of an update, I think, with the CCS and the ASRA, but that's all I have for actual racing, Pat.
Right. So last weekend, the official word came out from Daytona International Speedway that the rescheduled 79th Daytona 200 that was rescheduled to Saturday, October the 17th as part of the ASRA and CCS Race of Champions weekend, that the Daytona 200 was canceled and would not go in 2020. However, Kevin Elliott and his staff with CCS and ASRA were able to secure the rental of Daytona International Speedway, so they are going to go ahead with their ASRA and CCS Race of Champions. I think it's the 37th year that they have gathered in October, where riders from all over the United States, from almost every state, as well as usually a pretty good contingent of Canadian riders get to go down there. I think it's problematic for any Canadian rider to go down there and race unless, I guess, you fly, you can rent a ride, take your gear down, but then when you come back, you're into a 14-day mandatory quarantine. So I don't think we're going to see any Canadian riders down at Daytona for the October 17th and 18th weekend. But we wish Kevin Elliott and his staff all the best as they soldier on. They've been doing a great job of running quite a number of the CCS and ASRA weekends without fans, with some very good protocols and procedures where they haven't had any issues. And they'll be running at Daytona October 17th, 18th, and on that Friday, the 16th, will be the Team Hammer School that I know Pat Barnes took last year just to see if he was fast enough to make the 200, but certainly disappointing for our Canadian contingent of Pat Barnes, Alex Coelho, as well as just drawing a blank here now on Darren James, who were scheduled to go back, but now they'll not be able to race in October. So that's all of our Nodell's notes for Monday, September 21st. And now we move to our very special guest for the rest of Track Announcer's Notebook, 2011 Hall of Famer, Toni Sharpless. And Toni, first of all, great of you to join us here. Live from the Ballistic TV studios in the outskirts of Markham, Ontario. Looks like Mike and Michelle have got a really cool setup for you here to do Track Announcer's Notebook.
I'm sitting in a candy land right now. The Ballistic Film Studios have outdone themselves. I'll give you a tour later on.
Okay. So we're going to get you on screen here in a minute, and we're going to sort of do this backwards. We're going to touch on your latest project, and you've done so many amazing things in your long and illustrious career. But I heard about this a few months ago, the Toni Sharpless Supersonic Road Race School. You're still waiting, I believe, delivery of your motorcycles that you've bought from Italy. But in the meantime, you've converted over a bunch of Yamaha TTR 110s. You've been doing some testing at some of the go-kart tracks in Ontario with some of the top riders people be familiar with. Take us back to the concept. When did the light bulb go on for you where you said, you know what, there's an opening in the market and an opportunity to do a mini road racing school, if you will? Where did the idea come from? Or has this been germinating for many, many years?
Well, Pat, I have been retired from road racing for almost 30 years. I quit
Retired?
Yes, I was since 1991. And it was the urging of Phil Hodgson at HB Cycle to get me back on a road race bike. I went to Moseport and he lent me his bike, and it was just like giving a bottle of beer to an alcoholic. I mean, I was an addict, and that's all it took. And just to feel that speed again, you know, and the rush of going into corner 8 at full speed. I was on a lightweight bike. I better clarify that, since I said I went into corner 8 at full speed. It was on a 300cc bike, not a super bike this time. And you know, I landed in the lightweight class, and racing against a lot of youngsters that are just starting out, and it was just so fun. My competitors go so fast, but I started thinking, where did they start? They had to start in the dirt, because in Ontario there's nowhere for a young kid to try out road racing. They have to wait until they're 15 years old to go out and race at CSBK, the Championship Cup Series across Canada. And so they cut their teeth in the dirt. So I started doing some research, and out west they've been doing a fantastic job at this. In every province there is a mini moto road race club that are racing on go-kart tracks when they're taking dirt bikes and modifying them. And Stuart is a little familiar with this, because in Ontario back in the early 90s, there was YSR 50 racing.
I remember that. I think I called a couple of those races.
Yes, and it just kind of died out. I'm not sure why. Maybe because Yamaha stopped making the YSR 50s and 80s. But out west in Alberta, I've talked to the club, I guess they're the elected president of the clubs, Nick Blanchett. He's in the Alberta chapter. And then there's Terry Alberts. He's in Saskatchewan. And they're strong. They've got upwards of 60 or more club members, and they're out there turning out some fast racers. So right now, representing Canada, we've got Tauren Collins over racing at the, I think he's in the Talent Cup, racing a Honda NS, I better get my facts straight. The NSF 250R, the Honda.
Okay.
I think it's called the European Cup. And he raced in the British Talent Cup as well. I think his best finish was a 7th place. So he's doing really well. We've got Jonathan Finn. He raced over in Europe. He came from out west, mini moto racing. And then we've also got Philip de Gama coming up now, Phil the Beast. So you know, I'm not inventing anything new. I'm just bringing it to Ontario, and just see a need for it. And you know, road racing is near and dear to my heart. So I just want to give back to the sport that I really love to do. So I'm hoping that the bikes show up soon, because I've got a lot of people anticipating the start of our school. We've been waiting for the Ohvale bikes from Italy that we bought. And I think you had a picture of them getting crated. They're the light blue bikes that are in a crate. And
Stuart's got to go back one. Yeah, so I think you got it.
Now there we are out testing the Yamaha bikes that we've converted. We took the TTR 110s, the electric bikes, and we converted them into mini motos here. And they're electric start. I'm sorry. They're 110 gasoline engines.
Okay, so here we've got back to the right page here. So
yeah, in the upper right.
Right.
Yeah. That's an Ohvale GPO 160 cc, and it's getting crated up to be shipped out to us.
So these will be the fastest of the bikes that you'll be racing on the go-kart or the go-kart tracks. You also have the 110s. And I understand since you're going to be allowing as young as 5 years old, you've got little 50cc Hondas also available.
That's right. So we can accommodate any kids from age 5 to 95. So we're taking everybody, if you're 96, I don't know, we might let you in. But we'll have bikes for anyone that has an inseam of about 24 inches and can balance a motor or a bicycle. We'll teach you how to ride a bike. So as long as you can touch the ground flat-footed on both sides of a CRF 50, then you're good to go.
Toni, this sounds very similar to what you and Blair many, many years ago now did when you started trail tours in the Ganaraska Forest. Steve Waycamp now running that program, where you can take a young person who has never ridden a motorcycle and get them out here on the racetrack and teach them right from the very first day of hopping on that motorcycle, and hopefully graduate them right on up through where a few years later maybe they're riding one of these Ohvale 160cc machines.
Yeah, you know, I met my husband while I was running that dirt bike school. I was a co-owner with my brother Blair and Warren Thaxter, and met my husband down at the Michigan 6 Day that we went down to, and Jamie helped you know, run the dirt bike school. And so now we're full circle. Now we're starting a little road race school. So I said to Jamie, I said, you know, we could start kids even younger than 5 years old if we get some striders. And there's a place out west that I think they're in Saskatchewan that bring them into Canada. And you can get, you know, any size kid on a strider and get them balancing and get them, you know, into motion. And then we can add the throttle and the motor later. But Jamie, you know, he's really good at keeping my feet on the ground, and said, you know, let's start with the CRF 50s first, and we'll go younger afterwards. You know, we don't have any kids ourselves, so it might take a little bit to get used to being around kids.
Okay.
All of our nephews and nieces have grown up, and they're all racing motorcycles.
Yeah, let me talk a little bit about going back in the history and heritage of the Sharpless family, where you've used the, I think it's very close to what the original Sonic motorcycles logo used to be. That's the motorcycle dealership on Eglinton, just east of Midland, in Toronto, that your dad owned and ran for so many years. What gave you the inspiration to incorporate that into the name of the road race school?
Well, and when I realized that, I wanted to put together a road race school, I was using my Googler, and I was just looking at all of the other schools that are around, and I saw the Super Camp down in the States that the flat track guys are running. And I thought, wow, that looks like it's put together really well. And then I had to look at the mystery school that Rich Oliver is putting together. And I just started thinking, we could do a super camp too. And I thought, what name should I call it? And, of course, I grew up in a motorcycle shop, my father's and mother's shop called Sonic Motorcycles. And so, I just kind of played around with it and came up with the Supersonic School. And the S that you see, the big yellow S, is as close as we could get to the original yellow color that Sonic used in their logo, and the shape of the S is the shape that my parents used for the logo. So it is a throwback, and it's funny, there's a lot of people that have bought their first motorcycle at Sonic Motorcycles, and I still run into them all the time. They'll say, you know what, your mom sold me my first motorcycle. And since I've put this big S out, I've had a lot of people coming up to me and saying, hey, I know what that's from. So yeah, it's been pretty cool. It's been a bit of a nostalgic ride doing that. So I think we're going to not just stop at the school, where you'll see on there the mini SBK mentioned to the right on the trailer there. And that is a series. We're going to be running a series as well. So we're going to have a championship series that goes all across Canada and run a provincial series. And there'll be indoor races and outdoor races, because we can run indoors on indoor go-kart tracks. Maybe Stuart, you've ran indoor before on the YSRs, or was it just outdoor?
No, it was both. Back in the days,
Yeah.
this would be early 90s, when the motorcycle show was at the automotive building. They used to put Coke syrup on they set up a section in the corner, and with chicanes and some sort of carousel type turns, and they would sprinkle Coke syrup in between every probably couple of heats. And then you'd really get sliding at the beginning. And then once it sort of, I guess it would be like rubbering in the track, and it stuck like glue. It was pretty awesome.
That's cool. I remember racing my flat track bike down at the where they have the livestock and everything for the Toronto show at the CNE.
Yeah, that's I think that's more the what's it called? Royal Winter
the
Fair.
Royal.
Yeah.
Yes, the Royal Winter Fair.
Yeah, so they cleaned out all the manure and everything, and then we moved in. So it's a little smelly, but it was a lot of fun. I think,
Yeah,
Pat,
no,
you
I think
actually announced it at one point.
I may have done a little bit of the indoor stuff, but Toni, are there any plans to have an initial school this fall, or are you simply running out of time? I know you've tested with the likes of Jake and Ben Leclerc up at I believe it's the Gamebridge go-kart facility, using the Yamaha TTR 110s. Is there going to be a school this year, or are we talking 2021 before people can sign up for one of the supersonic road race schools?
Well, Pat, we have done some testing, and the tests have gone really well. The bikes just work phenomenal. So we even tested in the rain, and Jake and Benny and I, and even Mac Wheel came out as well. We were just amazed at how well the bikes and the tires held in the rain, and because we're going to be running rain or shine, so we figure we can run through October, you know, if the bikes get here, because we're right now we only have 4 Yamahas. And, you know, with track fees and insurance and all of the expenses to get to the racetrack, we need our other bikes operating so we can bring out, you know, enough people to cover everything. And we were just really thrilled at how well they worked and handled, and we even crashed them a couple of times. So, so in crashing them, they were crash proof. You know, we just scraped them up a little bit, and they just kept on going. So we were really impressed with the testing that we've done so far. And what we'd like to do is squeak out some schools in October, and then also have some exhibition races and some test days. And we're going to be running some indoors. We've been talking to some indoor facilities. And what I'd really like to do, maybe not this year, but some kids camps over Christmas and the spring break. Have some kids camps where you get the kids out learning how to road race, and then we're you know, get them all ready for the spring. So eventually we'd like to run from April to the end of October, and then start the winter series.
Tony, with the CSBK National Series, are you looking to have one of these rounds at each of the CSBK events as that series, you know, hopefully gets back to its full complement of venues in 2021?
Colin Fraser has been a huge supporter of my efforts. You know, I've had some, we call it the Panera Bread meetings we had before COVID hit. And, you know, he's helped guided me along the way. We're going to be running some races in conjunction with each other wherever possible. It depends on the facility. So, you know, we're looking at that prospect, and then the series will be carved out on go-kart tracks.
Yeah, and I know you're still working on the website and some other details, and I'm sure pricing depending on what motorcycle. But this is a situation where if you are brand new, you just show up and you provide the helmet, the leathers, all the gear, as well as the motorcycle ready to go.
That's right. Now, I could give you a little tour. Would you like that?
Sure.
I'll show you the equipment that we have ready to go. Now, does that, can you see the first shot here?
A bunch of leathers.
Okay, so I was talking about Colin Fraser. He actually donated 5 suits to the school. So I've got a bunch of Fraser suits. I've had people donating suits from across Canada. You know, it's just been amazing. Even from my buddy out west, Davey Fair. So we've got some suits. We've got some kid suits that we got from Italy. They're called G-Moto. We bought them over at GP Bikes, and got some EVS back protectors. And we've got them every size, so even a little tiny one for the kids.
That's
and
great.
We've got gloves, and there's some of the kids' helmets and gloves and boots. And then over to, we got these kids' boots. I mean, look at the size of this. You see the next MotoGP starting off in these?
Yeah, you gotta start somewhere, and certainly we used to talk about there being a ladder system in CSBK where you'd start out well, right now it's lightweight sport bike, move to amateur sport bike, then pro sport bike, and then hopefully right on up to full Superbike, but you're providing some additional rungs in the ladder to get a young rider, male or female, started early. So once they turn, get into their teens and they are eligible to run lightweight sport bike, they already have a few years of experience and have laid the groundwork for a road racing career.
That's right. You know, this
These are the
model,
TTRs. Yep.
this is, yeah, these starting off on a little bike like this, it just lowers the cost, lowers the risk, the center of gravity. You don't fall as far when you fall over. It's just a hoot, you know. It's so much fun, and it just makes it a lot more accessible for people to come and try the sport. I'm not only interested in building riders, as I am also interested in building the fan base. So I always have subscribed to the thought that if you understand something, then you're more apt to enjoy it. And, if you're Saturday morning and you hear a noise and it sounds like a chainsaw, then you'll be like, oh, that's a chainsaw. I know what that is. I know what it does. But if they hear the buzz of a mini bike, there'll be some of those people that will get annoyed by that noise because it's something they're not familiar with. They don't know what it is. They don't understand it. So what I'd like to do also with the school is just get everybody and anybody out to try this and get familiar with it, know what it's all about, and then hopefully we expand our fan base and more people will come out to the races once we get through this pandemic and we can have spectators again.
Yeah, indeed. Stuart, I think we may have a couple of questions or comments in our Q&A box.
Yeah, actually, we have a couple here just from Jim Brown regarding Brad McRae racing at Shannonville. I did forget to mention that Jeff Williams was at Shannonville in pretty good spirits, obviously still injured, but up and around, and he was helping Brad with his racing, just coaching him and stuff. So that was great to hear. And then we had another comment regarding Tony's family's shop and some of the people, again, like Tony had already said, where they got their first bikes from there. I know even my family were customers of your parents' shop. My dad would go there, and we have mutual friends in Peter and Andy Weiss, who are, they were big enduro racers and motocross stars back in probably the late 60s and early 70s even.
Yeah, Sonic Motorcycles sponsored a lot of racers, and a lot of racers that now have second and third generation of racers so it's been really crazy to see somebody walking up to me and saying that they got their first bike from my parents' shop, and then they're introducing me to their grandson who's racing, so it's really cool.
Toni, we're gonna get back to the Toni Sharpless Supersonic Road Race School at the end, but we want to go back to your early beginnings. There wasn't a supersonic road race school when you were getting into racing. You actually first started ice racing. Tell us what you remember of racing, ice racing, before you even moved on to flat track and then road racing.
Yeah, ice racing was something that I just loved, just because of the speed. When you're riding in the dirt, it takes a lot of talent to go fast in the dirt. When I got out on the ice, I just loved the speed. I was addicted right away. And then I translated that over to dirt track. And then from dirt track, meeting the Inglis brothers, they talked me into trying out road racing. And that's when road racing, I got that speed bug, and I just fell in love with road racing right away. It's a sport that's so specialized, and you're unable to just go out and go road racing. You have to rent a track, and you can't, like a dirt bike is a lot more accessible. You just load it in the back of your truck and go out to the Ganaraska forest. I'm thinking that, if people get to try out road racing, that didn't have the kind of background that I did growing up, with a motorcycle family. Our activity was, going motorcycling. That was our family activity. So I think if people get the opportunity to try it out, I think that we're going to have some more road races on our hands.
Your first road race, you would think would have been at Shannonville, but was actually at Grattan, Michigan, where I think you finished 5th. What do you remember of that first road race weekend in Michigan?
I bought an RD 350 LC 1982, brand new, from my uncle who had a bike shop, because my father had sold his shop a couple of years before that. And I stayed up all night at my brother's Sharpless Can-Am shop, getting it ready to go to the flat track. Stayed up all night, in fact, got it started in the morning, sitting there warming it up, put it into gear to do a little little drive around the parking lot before I loaded it. As soon as I put it into gear, the bike stopped. And I'm like, oh boy. So I started the bike again, put it into gear, stopped again. I finally figured it out that it must have been the switch that I had cut off for the side stand. So I stripped it and put the wires together, and then I was able to ride it around and check it out, load it up, went out to Grattan and took the Penguin School, and they taught me how to road race in the Penguin Road Racing School. And then the next morning I lined up at the back of the grid to try my first road race. And like you said, I finished 5th, and I just had a blast trying to pass everybody I could. And that was it for me. The bug had bitten. So from there, I went to Shannonville, and then you know the rest, because I think you've announced it every race I raced in those days.
Well, a few of the races, and after a couple of years of Shannonville with a lot of top 10 finishes, you and Kathleen Coburn head to Daytona. You both qualify for the Daytona 200. I think there were maybe a couple of women before that who had actually qualified for the race, but didn't finish. And both of you had some pretty good finishes that year. I think Kathleen was 33rd, and I think you were about 47th. But more so than where you finished, I think you were on such a big stage that Yamaha approached you and decided, hey, these two Canadian women know how to ride, and you got the invite to go to the Suzuka 8-hour. What was that like, being able to run with a top-notch team and go and race at Suzuka, and then as well some of the other big endurance races at Le Mans and Bol d'Or?
Well, both of our finishes there at the Daytona 200 weren't very impressive, but Kathleen had some issues with her bike, and I had issues with mine, and we both limped them to the finish there. But it was enough to, in qualifying, to grab the attention of the Yamaha rep, Tad Okano from Japan, from Yamaha Motor Company. And he came over to my pit, and I was racing a Yamaha at the time, an FZR 750, and Kathleen was on a Suzuki. So he came in wearing all of his Yamaha stuff, a Yamaha hat, Yamaha polo shirt, even Yamaha running shoes. And, I said to him, hey, I like your shoes. And he introduced himself, gave me a business card, and by the time I got home, there was a pair of Yamaha running shoes sitting there for me. And he asked me if I would choose a partner to come and ride the Suzuka 8-hour. And so I phoned up Kathleen. I said, "Hey, we're going to Japan. Pack your bags." So we went and raced there, and we got to race in Europe as well. And then we raced with the Team Nescafe Yamaha team, as well as the Gauloise Blonde race at Bull d'Or 24-hour, Le Mans 24-hour, and then of course the Suzuka 8-hour. We did that 2 years. So yeah, it was quite, it was a dream come true, actually, Pat. It was really, I always dreamed when I started road racing that I wanted to take it to the highest level that I could. And the highest level that I thought of was racing in the world. So I ended up accomplishing that, and it was just a dream come true.
Well, both of you and Kathleen Coburn represented Canada so proudly at those international events. Toni, as much as you had some amazing battles on the racetrack, believe it was 1991, you were dealing with a different battle. You were battling cancer, decided to retire from road racing. How did you manage to get through all of that? I know you had a great support team, but you always have such a positive attitude. That must have helped you overcome that case of cancer that you battled for quite a while.
Well, Pat, I looked at it as it was a pit stop. You know, I had to put everything on pause and just go in and do a re, get the motor done. You know, it was, you know, it was a time that I think there's so many Canadians that can identify with. And each person's battle is personal and different from another person. And, you know, I think it'd be nice to be able to eradicate that disease and many others. But yeah, I think battles like those make you stronger. And, you know, I think my mom or another famous person probably said, you know, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So it's just, you know, it was meant to be. And here I am. So I'm actually promoting another nice cause for my my friend. This is called Revs for Rhett. It's a syndrome that my friend's daughter has, Ross Milson. He's a road racer and a colleague of mine, a work colleague. And him and his wife, Sabrina, made these masks up for COVID, and they were selling them at Moseport. And we bought a bunch of them. I had my crew there, and I made them all buy a bunch of them. And we've been wearing our Res for Rets face mask. So hopefully Toni, the pandemic doesn't last forever, but we're armed.
So how are we able to purchase those masks? Will Ross have those at Grand Bend on the October 3rd, 4th weekend? Are they selling them there?
I will put a message into Sabrina, and yeah, we'll get that out to you, Pat.
Okay, yeah, because I'm sure Stuart and I would love to support their efforts. Of course, we were involved a couple of years ago with the big auction they had at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park in conjunction with the CSBK weekend there. And Ross, one of the real good guys, and his family. Toni, we're going to fast forward a little bit into 2011 when you, along with Kathleen, were both inducted into the Canadian Motorcycle Hall of Fame. You're joining your late dad, Bill Sharpless, and of course your brother, Blair. I'm not sure, that might be the only father, son, and daughter that are currently in the Hall of Fame. But How special was that that evening? I had the honor of being the MC, where you were going in with Toni Sharpless, and somehow Ruben McMurder got inducted that year as well. So it was a good year for road racers getting into the Hall of Fame.
It sure was. And it was really special because my brother Blair, was there to give me the award. And, I just got up to the podium and looked around, and it was just one big, huge motorcycle family. It was a really special night. And we've gone to several of those events to support all of the recipients that get those awards. And I think it's a really a great thing that they've put together. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on the woman that started it. She was inducted last year.
Veda Seeds. Yeah, Veda's done a great job.
Yes, Veda's. I think she came up with the idea and then got a team together to help her pull it off. And so I think that they're doing great things, and it's all across Canada. And it's great if people can come out and support it once we get through this pandemic.
Right. Yeah, and just to Veda has been just the real driving force for the Hall for many, many years. But it was actually Bar and Haiti Hodgson who started the Motorcycle Hall of Fame. And the other gentleman who was there at the beginning is Dave Lloyd, who was instrumental in putting together the very first one. And then since then, the Hall was gifted by Bar and Haiti Hodgson over to the current foundation that runs the annual induction. Now, obviously with COVID-19, the event was to be held next month, in November in Montreal, but they decided with everything where you just couldn't gather to really postpone it into 2021. It'll be back in Montreal. Not sure if the official dates have been published as yet, but hopefully they can get all of that done. Stuart Nodell, any questions or comments that have come in?
Just the only other new comment is from Nathan Naslund, and he said he's bought a couple of those masks that Toni mentioned from Ross Milson and his family, and he'd like to get some more. So we definitely need to get that info out there and promote it, and I'm sure the whole motorcycle community can get behind it.
All right, we'll try to grab some more information for next week's show, as well as to see whether or not those masks are going to be available at the final round of the Sword Championship on October 3rd and 4th. Toni, what has it been like as a district sales manager for Motovan dealing with COVID-19 over the last 6 months? I know I've been doing most of my work from my home office, but what's it been like trying to get in to see your various motorcycle retailers out there in Ontario?
Well, there's various stages of, the way that lockdown or curbside pickup, the dealers are, open for business. But a lot of them have not encouraged salespeople to come around because they need all the foot traffic that's allowed into their showrooms. They want them to be buying customers. So I've been doing a lot of it by phone and Zoom meetings and working from home. I'm not out traveling. So it's been a really eerie way to run business. Everybody's had to adapt and change during this pandemic. I'm rethinking the whole thing. I've turned 60, and we had to postpone our party. Jamie wanted to throw a big bash. So I just recently kind of come to terms that I'm going to probably retire or semi-retire and put more focus on to the supersonic road race school.
So what you're telling me, you did not turn 60 in March because the party was canceled. Um,
Yeah.
Toni, so you mentioned retiring from road racing in '91 to deal with the challenges of having to fight off cancer, but and then you got back into road racing in the sport bike class. But you did go to the United States in February to race at Roebling Road to sort of get some early season track time on the bike because I think you had plans to contest the entire CSBK lightweight amateur sport bike championship.
Yes, last year we went to Roebling Road, and we also went to New Jersey, and then in the fall we went back down to Barber. So got to race some U.S. tracks and ones that I have never been to. So it was really great. And what was amazing was at Roebling Road, which was a WERA event, and so was the Barber event. I went to sign in and I recognized the woman that owns WERA, Evelyn.
Evelyn, yeah.
And she used to sign us in back in the 80s when we went down there. And then she ended up buying the series and has been running it ever since. She's got her whole family, twin nephews that do the starts. So you think you're seeing double when you're looking up for the starting flags. And she's got her husband and her ex-husband all helping, and track marshals and so on. So it was great to chat with her, and she just was an inspiration to me that we've got some strong women in the motorcycle industry and sport, and she kind of gave me some inspiration to kind of get this school going, that I could do it. So I'm going to run a mini moto series from her inspiration.
That's awesome. Now, Toni, if COVID wasn't around, and that's a big if, we know we've been all dealing with it in our own way since March. This coming weekend, you and I would be up in the Halliburton Highlands for the annual Corduroy Enduro. I've had the opportunity to be part of that for the last 2 or 3 years, but we understand while the Corduroy Enduro is not happening this year, a small group of Cord volunteers are going to get together this weekend. You guys are going to go cut some trail and maybe do a little bit of riding. I guess we can call it the mini Cord.
Yeah. We're gonna miss that this year because it's a big part of our fall every year. My brother Todd and I and our family, our stepdad Bill Davies, and all of our friends, we always head up north to help Blair with the Corduroy Enduro. And speaking of motorcycle families, it's a family that we've been nurturing for years, because the Cord is, I think we're on our 62nd or 63rd annual if it ran this year. So, with that big giant hole, Blair decided let's just have a small get together and just thank some of the workers. We had to really scale it down because of COVID. But we are going to go ahead with some trail cutting and get some more trails ready for Cord 2021.
Well, we look forward to getting back up there next year for the Cord. Hadn't really announced a Corduroy Enduro until a couple of years ago, worked with Frank Wood, and we're really looking forward to this year. And of course, Mike and Michelle Bell and the whole Ballistic film crew have done such an outstanding job of capturing that event. All of the footage from last September, I think we've got. It's being edited, and we'll be doing some voiceovers of that corduroy race from 2019 in the months to come. So although there's no cord this year, we'll very soon be able to check out cord 2019, which was just an amazing event, and we look forward to seeing it back on the off-road calendar for 2021. Speaking of 2021, Toni, what are your plans right now in terms of racing that Yamaha R3 out of HB Cycle, as well as how busy a schedule do you see for the Toni Sharpless Supersonic Road Race School?
Well, the R3 we have is our own team effort. Phil was just the inspiration at the beginning. We're sponsored by ACF 50, which is a nice Canadian chemical that's fantastic. I put, it's like Frank's hot sauce. I put that stuff on everything. And ACF 50, and we're going ahead to race the CSBK race next year. I hear there might be 2 Moseport events, so I'm excited about that. And so we'll be running those in between our little mini moto series, which we call the Canadian Mini SBK series, Championships Cup series, and also the Ohvale Cup. We're going to be running that as well. So that'd be a spec class for the Ohvale bikes. So I see next year, 2021, as being a really busy year with mini motos and also getting out and racing the R3 and the CSBK series.
Toni, in all your racing events and accomplishments, standing there at the podium, being inducted into the Canadian Motorcycle Hall of Fame, is there one moment that stands out in your career that you're particularly proud of?
There's a lot of them. I think the one that I like the most is celebrating with my brothers on their victories. My brother Todd, he was flat tracker, and he's probably the most talented Sharpless. I mean, he can do anything. He's actually, I'm laughing because we got a unicycle once for Christmas, and all 3 of us were giving it a go and trying to get going. And so I was the oldest, so I grabbed it first and I pedaled it, and I got a few steps in until Blair got anxious and wanted to try it. So he grabbed it and, gave it a go and got a little bit farther than I did. And then Todd, the youngest, he could hardly reach it. I think we had to adjust the seat, and he got on it and he was gone, and then he gets to the curb and he held on to it and, hopped down off the curb. And it wasn't long until he was doing stairs and everything. So that just gives you a little insight onto Todd and his abilities on a motorcycle and anything that he tries. So being at the race, at the flat track race, and celebrating his wins, or being at the Enduros and celebrating Blair's wins, that's really cool. It's really special. And now I get to do that with my nieces, Emma and Megan. They're doing really well in the off-road sphere, and we had Megan out trying the mini motos a couple of weeks ago. So we brought her out to try and test them out for us.
So are we going to see another Sharpless road racing, Blair's daughter?
Yeah, I think she's going to school to be an engineer right now. So she's pretty busy down at Queens. But I think it wouldn't take much to convince her. I think we have to convince her mom more than Megan. So I think everyone's on board except for Mom. So we'll have to work on her.
Okay, Toni, it's been delightful chatting with you this evening, finding out a little bit more about the Toni Sharpless Supersonic School, and of course the race series that you're planning in conjunction with CSBK for next year. Continue to follow your passion. We wish you all the best, and have fun up at the mini cord this weekend. And next week we're going to have a good friend of yours on the show. We're going to have Caius Tench, who will talk about the Toronto Motorcycle Film Festival, and some of the films are going to be in this year's film festival. That's going to run online from October 1 to 10, and there'll be some evenings where they'll be socially distant with masks in the review theater on Roncesvalles. We'll get you all of that information, including a few of the films that are very much motorcycle racing focused. That's all next week, Monday, September the 28th, on Track Announcer's Notebook. We'll preview the Toronto International Motorcycle Film Festival, the 4th edition. Stuart, any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
Sure, Pat. I'd just like to thank Toni for joining us tonight. It was great to hear her story, and I've been very curious about her supersonic mini superbike school and race series. So I hope a lot of people are going to get behind it, because I know for me, getting to race the YSRs, if it wasn't for that, I would have never had the opportunities that I had, because it was cost effective. It was actually cheaper than motocrossing at the time. And it just provided me a ton of opportunity. And like Toni said, it was just such a hoot.
And
Okay.
we're going to have some ballistic film videos that you can find on YouTube. And we'll have them posted up after the show.
Okay, and Stuart, I think we got, before we wrap it up here, just a couple of quick comments there you can share with us, and then we'll close out Track Announcer's Notebook.
Sounds good, Pat. Yeah, just Nathan Naslin wanted to reach out again and say hi to Toni, and how much, just to express how much fun he had riding with her at the Pro 6 track day back in July. And then also Justin, who's one of the lightweight riders, just wanted to thank Toni and Mike Ballistic for all their video work that they do during the CSBK lightweight championship.
Yeah, and hopefully some of that video I know is already out there on YouTube. We're going to see a more robust feature on Toni and all the great racing that she did. And Toni, as I'm sitting here and we wrap up, to think you're 59 or 60, we're not quite sure yet, but some of these young kids, you know, they're old enough, they're young enough to be, I don't know, you would be their your grandmother or your mother. But that's the way it's generations of road racing. But
You really know how to sweet talk a woman, Pat. You really know.
But you know what? Keep doing what you're doing. So on that note, we're going to say so long to everybody who joined us tonight here on Track Announcer's Notebook. For Stuart Nodell, our special guest, Toni Sharpless, have a safe week, and we'll see you back here next Monday night, September the 28th, as we preview the 4th annual Toronto International Motorcycle Film Festival. Good night.